great secret of the Qabbalah, or the Rabbi's wife, a fiction. The great secret of the Qabbalah is hidden in the very word itself. There is no agreed way to pronounce it. This is by design. It has been that way since the time of the Rabbi's wife. That itself is the secret. There is no proper way to pronounce Qabbalah. As soon as someone says Qabbalah, the Kabbalist is able to say, "Don't you mean Qabbalah?" and in this way establish an immediate magical advantage over them. Were the victim to say Qabbalah, the Kabbalist would say, "Don't you mean Qabbalah?" and so on. In this way, the Kabbalist or Kabbalist or Qabbalist were able to extract a huge store of magical power from dullards across the centuries. Spells only work if you pronounce them correctly. The pronunciation of some spells is a movable feast. The most influential occultist of all time was the Rabbi's wife. We don't know which rabbi this was, but it was one of the rabbis who were intent on excising the Song of Solomon from the Hebrew Bookathon. The song in question is explicitly erotical and stretches metaphors well beyond respectable limits. The trouble for the rabbis, though, was the line, "How beautiful are thy feet." The implication was that the lady in the poem was not wearing night socks, and on the Sabbath. "It's got to go," said the rabbi to his wife, reporting on the deliberations of the elders. "Certainly," she agreed. "It's my favourite book in the whole Tanakh, but what do I care? Go ahead, rip out your wife's favourite scripture." At first the rabbi took this as warm approval, but then Elijah appeared unto him and said, "Boy, are you in big trouble?" By the next day the rabbi had thought better of it, went back to the other rabbis and convinced them to leave the Song of Solomon where it was. It is well known nowadays, of course, that the said song contains the misty-eyed secrets of the wives and concubines of Solomon himself, and in subsequent legends the rabbi's wife understands the full implications and is herself an advanced initiate in the Solomonic arts. There is a lineage, maternal, as continuous as chicken soup. This was the ultimate origins of Qabbalah or Qabbalah or Qabbalah or Qabbalah, because once the rabbis were stuck with the Song of Solomon, they had to do cartwheels of textual exegesis to explain away the lack of night socks. Schools of allegorical interpretation emerged. For her part, the rabbi's wife lent her name, not that she had a name, to a raft of pseudepigrapha, some of the greatest but most obscure works of Hebraic hocus being attributed to the rabbi's wife, with many heterodox writers choosing to write anonymously under that appellation. There is a considerable literature written by the rabbi's wife. More than that, she preserved Solomonic symbology and the inner connotations of the hyacinth and the lily. She lived long ago, of course, and there have been many rabbis' wives since, and often their influence has been almost as prodigious, although not as proverbial. The well-known collection of sayings, curses and recipes, known as the diatribes of the rabbi's wife, is a late anthology of sayings, curses and recipes from many rabbis' wives, but is attributed in the typical way to the ancient one. Qabbalists, it has to be said, are among the least advanced of occultists. While the rest of us enjoy the benefits of civilization at ground level, they still devote their time to tree climbing. They call the tree in question the Otchim, the tree of life, and the entire objective of their labours is to climb to the top. The whole tree climbing theosophy is outlined in an epilogue to Volume 2 of the Diatribes, often quoted, here loosely rendered. Malkuth, to tell the truth, is only kingdom to Kether. The god of Hod is just a clod unless you've first surmounted Yesod and transcended the surmounting, as it were. The hairs in his beard have disappeared by the time you get to the abyss, but even Tifereth is sudden death, once you're bored with bliss. And Ein Sof is not as pure as Ein Sof or his wrath, and there's nothing to gain from the nothing of Ein. Of this you can be sure. Such is the plight of fallen man, that God alone should say, I am. Chokhmah is wise, but wears a disguise. Binah is maternal, but her darkness eternal. It's behind this tree that Adam hid. The thing about the Qabbalah, it should be said to every dabbler, is that by Kabbalistic means one can conjure everything from nothing, so it seems. And this, in fact, is exactly what one did. The whole thing is thoroughly three-trunked, and there are 10 tree houses for intrepid climbers. A full exegesis is set out in impenetrable detail in that great repository of opacity, the Sefer Splendid, with a foreword by the Rabbi's wife. Sometime in the Spanish Middle Ages, which were considerably later than everybody else's Middle Ages, a gathering of Qabbalists hit upon a remarkable scheme. Why don't we, asked one, encode all the secrets of the Qabbalah in a simple board game? That way, it was reasoned, the unwitting non-Qabbalist of the world would perpetuate the said secrets, which would be safely hidden in plain sight. The Catholic queens were getting nasty. Qabbalists were being rounded up and given a one-way ticket to Istanbul. With this in view, a team of high-ranking tree climbers gathered in Madrid and came up with a design. It possessed 100 squares, and they were all numbered in the most boring sequence possible in horizontal decades. Non-Qabbalists would never suspect the deep mysterium concealed in such a plain device. The scheme, however, was misconceived. The game was released on the market, sold reasonably well, but almost immediately froze into the vernacular. Any potency the playing board might have had by design instantly drained away, and even the Qabbalist couldn't remember quite how the game contained their secrets. It quickly degenerated into the game we know as Snakes and Ladders. This family favourite, a pursuit game with 2 dice where the best you can hope for is a 12, actually contains the entire corpus of Qabbalistic wisdom, all the way back to the Rabbi's wife, but no one can remember how to unlock it. It completely failed in its purpose. Some experts propose that the snakes represent the nodes of the moon, in which case the ladders must be solar, but who knows anymore. The best tactic when dealing with Kabbalists is to sidestep the snare and refer instead to Jewish mysticism. When you say Qabbalah and they say Qabbalah, you say, "You mean Jewish mysticism?" That usually sets the cat among the Merkabahs. The rabbi's wife was pretty misty and esoteric. So were the wives and concubines of Suleiman. When the rabbi came home and told his wife her favourite book in the entire Tanakh would stay in the Hebrew Bookathon, she hit him on the head with a frying pan for his trouble. Elijah appeared unto him again and said, "I told you." This is the origins of the occultish saying, and which anyone who dabbles with the Qabbalah must know by heart: don't mess with the rabbi's wife, for she is subtle, and she wears the night socks. Magical compromise can be avoided in many ways. Remind the Kabbalist that Moses had the stutters. When he says Qabbalah, you say, sorry? Or you could pull a Christian on him and tell him Jesus was the best tree climber of them all. Tell him how Jesus gave Adam a whole new foothold. This will send the Qabbalist back to the Sefer Splendid, or to Volume 2 of the Diatribes, where the rabbi's wife rehearses her curses. If all else fails, challenge him to a game of snakes and ladders, and the level playing field of rolling dice. The inner secrets are just as baffling to him as they are to you.